My next guest may be the most underrated basketball player in the NCAA, in my opinion. You know, Virginia Military, they may not win much, but they always seem to have this one guy who can score a lot of points. Maybe it was Jason Conley in another, in the previous decade, before he transferred to Missouri. Or how about Q.J. Peterson a couple of years ago? But now that player is Bubba Parham, who is averaging for the Running Roos 21 points a game, actually a higher scoring average this season than even Fletcher McGee, who everybody thinks is going to be the player of the year in the SoCon from the Wofford Terriers. Hey, VMI, if they beat Western, they'll play Wofford with a chance to shock the region. I don't know about the world. I don't think China's going to be watching. But Bubba Parham joins me now. Thanks for coming here, sophomore from Snellville, Georgia. And, recently, Virginia Military, you've been hot. You've won 3 in a row. Tell us, why did it take 27 games for the Keydets to get their act together and start winning just right now?
We had a lot of injuries this year, and it was tough for us early to, we were young, and we didn't really know how to win close games, or, we didn't have the experience to, come together and just get the job done. But late, Coach been telling us to stay focused, and we just been coming together towards the end and getting it done.
Well,
that's really how we've been winning lately.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I think VMI might be a dark horse, in this tournament. It's asking a lot to beat Wofford, and then everybody else assuming you'd get past Western Carolina. That's a big if, too. But right now, the Keydets are hot, and I think, Bubba, that you give the Keydets a sort of a puncher's chance and such. Let me ask you, Bubba, how did you get that name? Because I know that's not your given name. Where does Bubba come from, Mr. Parham?
Just a nickname that my dad has this thing where when we're born, he gives everybody a funky nickname, and that's just one that he gave me, and it just stuck on from high school. And when I got here, it just stuck with me, and that's what everybody calls me. I don't think no one knows my real name.
Well, let's see here. In fact, I'm looking it up right now here on Twitter, because I know you go by, it's Donald Parham, but you do have Bubba AP_3 as your Twitter handle. But I want to ask, okay, tell us about your siblings. If your dad gives everyone a nickname, what are your, I don't know how big your family is, but tell us what some of the other nicknames that your dad has given.
I have an older brother. His nickname is Kilo, and his real name is Deontay. I have an older sister. Her name is Danielle, and he calls her Doobie. I have another older sister. Her name is Brittany, and he calls her Beanie. It's just certain little nicknames, unique nicknames that he gives each and every one of us. Pretty cool.
Bubba might fit in pretty well in Lexington, Virginia, or for that matter, Snellville, Georgia, not to be confused with Snailville, Georgia, which is where John Schneider told the producers of the Dukes of Hazzard he was from when he auditioned for the part of Bo Duke 40 years ago. So there's something you didn't know. But nevertheless, let's get back to basketball here. Bubba, the team is only 10-20, and yeah, I do give you a puncher's chance because of your play. I was very impressed in how you were able to lead VMI back against ETSU to an 85-82 score, and if it wasn't for Mladen Armas being able to play away from the basket, he's a foot taller than you, and block your last-second shot to try to tie, it might have been a different story in terms of who won the game and who didn't. But I want to ask you here, Bubba, what are realistically the goals of the Keydets as they go into the SoCon tournament? Because you are the 8th seed out of 10.
Our coach tells us every day, don't get into all that record and seeding and stuff. As of now, everybody is 0-0, and we just got to take it one game at a time and just beat each opponent that's in the way and just keep going like that.
Well, Bubba Parham, I know you're a little short of 6 feet tall, but why VMI? They've made the NCAA tournament 3 times in their history, but none since the 70s, and it's been a long time loser. Was this the only Division I offer that you received, or why was it that you chose to play with the Keydets?
Simply, just really the only Division I school that gave me an opportunity. So that's really why I chose VMI. They started recruiting me later on in my high school career, and they offered me, so I just took a chance on it.
Well, you've made the most out of the opportunity leading the Southern Conference in scoring, but, I mentioned beforehand that there were some other players. Jason Conley, I think, is a player that comes to mind who transferred up, so to speak, to, at the time, the Big 12 Conference. You're only a sophomore. Are you committed to play at VMI for 2 more years? I mean, are you willing to say that, yes, I may be the leading scorer, but I'd like to try to turn things around here in Lexington? Is that your goal, or, is it possible that you might be playing at another school someday?
Well, definitely, that's my goal. I don't plan on going anywhere. I love my teammates. I love my coaching staff. I love the fans that come around. The school can be tough, but I feel like the school is preparing me for what's coming ahead in life. And yeah, I feel like I'll be here all 4 years, and I don't plan on transferring anymore.
When you say prepare you for life, okay, let's talk about that military academy lifestyle. I've heard the stories about the barracks. I've heard some horror stories about plebes, although mostly from what I've heard, that's at the Citadel. But tell us a little bit, what was for you the biggest adjustment to get adjusted to military institute life?
My biggest adjustment coming here was probably someone giving me orders 24/7. Well, I wouldn't say 24/7, but someone giving you orders like most of the time. Back before I got here, when somebody would tell me what to do, I would take it offensive, or it just made me tougher and just preparing me for the future. I know everything is not going to be easy in life, so now I know how to handle adversity and all sorts of things that I feel like VMI is preparing me for later on in my life.
Well, I would think that taking orders, that's kind of similar from, say, taking coaching instructions. You're an athlete. I know at some point in your career, coach must have yelled at you. It goes with the territory. So, do you see any comparison there, taking orders from your superiors at VMI as compared to, let's say, taking orders from a coaching staff?
I think I'm a very coachable player when it comes to being told something and me trying to execute it on the court. That's one thing that I like to strive for the most, because I don't want anybody to say that I'm a bad teammate or I'm a bad person to coach, because that would just make people's jobs 10 times harder. But yeah, I think I'm a coachable player, and I think being here definitely helps it out. I've never been the one to talk back to a coach, but I think coming to this school and being told what to do a lot, I think it makes me even better as a player.
Okay, let me go through some of your scoring totals right here, Bubba Parham. You really got, I think, the nation's attention. You came on my radar when you scored 35 points against Kentucky. This began a streak of 4 straight games for you in which you scored 30 or more points. And the Running Roos went 500 in a 10-20 team. Maybe that's not so bad. Splitting 4 games with Kentucky Christian, Stetson, and American. Then as I go through your schedule, there's a 33-point effort in a victory against Western Carolina, a 30-point effort in Spartanburg, South Carolina against a team I know that you want to play on Saturday, the Wofford Terriers, and also more recently, Western Carolina and Mercer, they allowed 30 points to you in Keydets victories. So I guess, but then I look at the other hand, there's that big deuce that you put up against ETSU. Bubba Parham, I got to tell you, in that game when I saw it was 39 all at the half and you hadn't scored yet, I said, my goodness, Parham is going to come through and ETSU is going to be doomed. Instead, the Bucks went on a 17-1 run to begin the second half. Question that I have for you is, how did Bo Hodges shut you down?
I wouldn't call it shutting me down. I would just say that they had a good game plan, but I would put a lot of it on my shoulders. I missed a lot of shots that I normally would make. The same shots that I made in the first game at ETSU, those shots didn't fall that night. I wouldn't say I was shut down, because I think that's a hard thing to do. I'm just confident in myself, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think he definitely made it tougher on me. Didn't give me any open looks, but at the same time, I've been seeing the same thing over and over again. I just have to be better as a player and just knock down shots.
So you 0 for 12 that night, but you're just sort of attributing, hey, it was a bad trip, that sort of thing, bad day.
Yeah, it was a bad day for me. I mean, I still got off. I feel like everything I shoot should go in. So it doesn't matter who's guarding me. If I shoot the ball that many times, then I shouldn't miss all those shots. So I mean, yeah, he made it a little tougher on me, but I'll put most of the weight on my shoulders.
All right. Fair enough right there. And certainly if things go the way that you would want, there's an opportunity that if you were to defeat Wofford, that's a big if, but then if ETSU beats Chattanooga, which they would be favored for, you'd have a third time's the charm rematch against them. Look, I have less than 60 seconds, but I want to ask you this. What makes Wofford so tough to beat, in your opinion? If I can get a short answer on that.
They just play together, and they just have a great system that everybody goes by. They just move the ball, find the open guy, and they really knock down shots. That's really their key to success, I believe.
They also have one of the best players in the conference in Fletcher McGee. But if you're looking at the top two, well, I'm talking to the other one, Bubba Parham. VMI, they've got a puncher's chance, I'm telling you. And he's joining us here on Tri-Cities Sports Now. Thanks a lot. We look forward to seeing you play for 2 more years at VMI. Caleb Calhoun of allfortennessee.com is next, talking about the number 5 ranked Tennessee Volunteers. Well, there you go.